Welcome everyone to another episode of Big Brain MMA Podcast, episode 43. I'm your host, BigSteve. Special new year episode of Bellator MMA versus RIZIN. Some very interesting fights. I'm excited to get into them, especially from a betting perspective. Pardon me, my phone just rang. Worst timing. Just had a bit of a break for Christmas. Excited to get back into it. I won't be doing a year-to-date overview of my results, so I'll just quickly address them. I think we did 41.7 thousand profit for the year, 47 units or so. Didn't hit my goal of 50. It is what it is. I stopped caring. The main takeaway is just to tighten it up a little bit, get a bit less sloppy, especially near the end of the year. I don't know what I was doing. I think chasing profits too much and just forgetting about my process, which clearly works, especially long term. So just get back towards that. And the goal is 100,000 next year, right? Let's aim for the stars. I'm reading some books about aiming high. So yeah, it all begins with this card, I guess. This is the 1st of January for me, not the 31st. So it's going to be the first card of 2023. And just another little tidbit. Cage Warriors was my best promotion last year, so I will be doing a podcast for that too. So exciting times. Other than that, not many fights on this card, only 5. So let's get straight into it. First fight on the card, Koji Takeda, Gadzi Rabadanov. I do favor Gadzi in this one. I just can't get myself to bet the odds. Even more money coming on Gadzi now. I just think he's a good wrestler. He's got that Russian coast style. He's light on his feet, got good distance management, got a good check left hook, and he's quite fast, quite explosive. Good grappler as well as wrestler. Good takedown defense for a decent level of competition, and he's got some underrated power as well. Koji Takeda they've got some similarities. He's a strong Japanese wrestler. He looks for the clinch. He suplexes people. He loves the Kimura trap / armbar combination. He tries it on everyone. If he doesn't get it though, he has a lot of clinch time and against the ropes. I was going to say cage, but obviously most of his fights are in RIZIN. He's very strong though. His third last fight, throwing around Spike Carlisle of all people, was very explosive himself. It was quite impressive. He did a performance, around in a bit until he put his head in a guillotine and Spike put him out. Spike is very known to, pulling subs and KOs out of his backside out of nowhere. So nothing surprising there, although he was doing quite well. Just can't pull the trigger here. I think Gadzi is going to be winning, doing well. But Koji's 27. He's young. He's improving. He will swing for the fences, even though his striking is a bit meat and potatoes. And then the other thing that I should have mentioned at the start of this podcast about this event is it's RIZIN rules. So it's not round by round scoring. It's overall fight scoring. So the first person can win the first two rounds technically. But whoever finishes strong, potentially, if the card finishes stronger, then he won the overall fight. It doesn't matter what happened at the start. He finished stronger. He looked like he was going to knock out Gadzi, for example. So, that's what's kind of putting me off. And the other thing is, knees to the grounded opponents and soccer kicks. All right, obviously Gadzi, as far as I know, hasn't really used that before, whereas Takeda, is used to it. Has been fighting in RIZIN before. So those are the reasons I can't bet Gadzi at the juice line. And the other thing is, Takeda, I can't hit him as a dog just because, when he does win, it's kind of a close decision. He beat Johnny Case. He came on late and just kind of outgrinded him. He said some split decisions. If he doesn't get a finish, he lost to Yasuke Yachi, who just kind of sprawled and brawled him and just busted him up. And this was only a year ago. And lost to Damian Brown, of all people, when he got cut from the UFC. So yeah, it's a dog or pass for me. Or a favorite pass. I just don't know. No interest in playing this fight. Speaking of no interest in playing fights, Koji Hiraguchi versus Hiro Ogikobo, number 3. So this is a rubber match. Koji won both their fights. First time he finished them in shoot. Second time they fought in RIZIN, and Hiro had some success. Not primarily, kind of stun dropped him in the first round. Had some takedowns, but overall Koji was just a better fighter. He busted him up. He took him down himself. I just think he's better. Hero is 35 years old. Coach is more explosive, athletic, has power. He's one of the best fighters out there, in my opinion, and I think he's still improving. He's got the finishing upside. He's got good wrestling and grappling himself. Yeah, I just think I think this is a coach's fight to win to lose. On top of that, Hero has just come back from a beating from Socho Kim, who we'll talk about next, and it didn't look very impressive. So I think there's a big athleticism and skill gap here. So I'll take Koji. It's just the line is very juiced. Nothing that interests me here. Alrighty, next fight. Juan Archuleta versus Socho Kim, the guy that we just mentioned. This is probably the closest fight, or one of the fights that I was the closest to betting. I was just refreshing my memory again. I think this is the first time I've taped Kim. He's quite the fighter, this guy, 18-6. I remember a few people I respect talking about fading him against, playing him against Hero, who we just talked about as a decent underdog, except there was no tape in the last few years. So I just didn't know what he was about, other than his fights a long time ago against Brimage and but Bibiano Fernandez. He fought Bibiano when he was a 22-year-old in a 5-round title fight, and then Bibiano Fernandez, back in his prime in 2013, one of the best bantamweights to ever do it. Just a lot of similarities with Archuleta. He comes forward, he gets a lot of takedowns, he's got solid offensive wrestling from what I've seen, and defensive wrestling. I mean, the only I didn't really see anyone take him down, and I taped, what do we got? 1, 2, 3, more than 5 fights. No one took him down, and then I thought I would see something in a Hero fight. Hero's probably the best wrestler that I've seen him fight recently, and Hero got on his hips very deep a few times, and even then he couldn't take him down. And Hero's taken down Koji Hiroguchi, right? If Hero locks his hands behind your hips, you're going for a ride. And Kim was just giving up his back so he wouldn't get taken down, and then he just kind of scrambled out of it, fought the hands. And I was kind of impressed by that. He's got good cardio. He pressures forward. He's got a bit of the Korean defense. Very hittable. Good shin though. He has been dropped multiple times. He just keeps going forward, works the body, good clinch knees, hooks to the body, to the liver. Just comes forward, pressures, looks to brawl, and mixes in takedowns. His control is pretty average. I mean, sometimes he just lets people stand up for no reason whatsoever. I don't understand why he does that. But yeah, just kind of like a zombie pressure fighter with solid wrestling. I mean, even in the Hero fight, in his last fight in RIZIN, he kicked the crap out of Hero. Like I said, he was pressuring him. He wobbled him in the first round, dropped him, threw a soccer kick, and stuffed all of Hero's takedowns. And whenever he wanted takedowns, he took Hero down. So yeah, all around good fighter with just some holes in his footwork potentially and his hitability. Last fight he lost, other than the Bibiano Fernandez title fight in 2013, was the Haijin Park fight. An 8-1 guy got guillotined by him. He got cracked with a check hook, and then he got guillotined at the end of round 1, and then rematched him right after that in Road FC and knocked him out with a head kick and punches, kind of similar to how Archuleta got knocked out by Rufian Stotts. And I don't know much about Jin Park, but he's 9-1, 9-2 after that. His level of competition is not the greatest, but he's got a good record at least. So, take that with a grain of salt. And then on the other side, Juan Archuleta, solid guy. A lot of people, this guy's great. I've always, I don't know, something about Archuleta. His record's nice and shiny. He's a good wrestler. Like I said, a lot of similarities. Good wrestler, good cardio, durability, I guess. The only thing with him is if he can't get his in and out game plan going, stick and move, or he can't get his wrestling going, he kind of gets shut out, right? So Patricio people 50-45'd him. Patricio people, one of the best fighters, we'll talk about him later. But he usually, knocks you out, or he has a close decision, or, a somewhat decent decision. It's just 50-45 against the level of fighter that Archuleta is, I was a bit disappointed there. He kept walking into counter shots. And then, Sergio Pettis did the same thing to him. Not 50-45, just unanimous decision. Couldn't really hold him down. He also has awful control, same as Kim. But he does have really solid defensive wrestling. Took down Stotts for a bit, took down Bazola. Bazola also took his back as well, so he can be taken down. People look like the better wrestler. Stotts took him down. Patchy Mix took him down. Bazola took him down, took his back, so he can be taken down, but he's a great scrambler. I just think this fight for me is a dog or pass. Archuleta, like I said, is more often than not a decision machine. He might get some takedowns on Kim, who I had to go back to 2013 to see Kim taken down and held down by Bibiano Fernandez when he was a 22-year-old, and Bellinger as well. He might take Kim down, and he might crack him a bit because he's hittable. If he doesn't finish him, Kim's going to keep coming forward, and he's going to work the body. He's going to have a lot more volume. Archuleta just blitzes in with boxing, in and out. Again, if he takes him down, probably no damage on the ground dealt. Kim's going to be throwing the bigger shots. He's showcased power in his last two fights. Plus, on the other hand, you got the soccer kicks. Archuleta heads up on the ground a lot. Against Rufi and Stotts, he was just fell over in the first 2 seconds. He's very aggressive, very sloppy with how he throws his overhands occasionally. And yeah, you could probably hit Kim with him because Kim is just a punching bag. But yeah, it's just, if anything, I feel like this fight is lined accurate. Maybe it should be a little bit less wider. Maybe Kim a slight underdog, but he's currently a slight underdog anyway. $2.25. I wish there was more meat on the bone. It's a dog or pass for me. Maybe it gets wider. Maybe I hit Kim. It's just, again, I'm nervous about the scoring criteria and how much Kim is going to keep coming forward. It's a tough one. I see this a scramble heavy brawl potentially, where both guys get hit, both guys get dropped, and both guys will get taken down. And both guys have good cardio, so if anything, this is going to be a cracker of a fight. At the moment, no conviction to play anything, but it's a dog or pass for me. Co-main event, we have Patricio Pitbull, Kleber, Koik, Erbst. Great fighter, this one. Kleber, the first time I seen him was when I was taping Gamrot, and then the second time when I taped Marius, the current KSW champ, who he armbarred. And I kind of did a little wiki cap on him. I was like, oh, this guy's pretty impressive. A lot of submission wins on his record. And then this was the first time I actually taped it from a betting perspective. Actually taping him properly, I was kind of obviously, other than his amazing submission offense, not that impressed in terms of overall game. I'm surprised that he has so many wins. Very, very hittable. Gets dropped a lot. Gamrot was piecing him up. Just let me refresh my memory. That was a title fight. Yeah, Gamrot was blooding him up. Obviously, I think Gamrot has underrated boxing, but I don't think his power is the greatest. And, Herbst, Kleber was, just getting bloodied up nice and early in that fight. Olka Sasaki dropped him bad in round 1. Someone else dropped him out of these guys in RIZIN. I can't remember who now. He does have a lot of adversity before he gets his finishes, but I'll give him credit. If he gets dropped, if he's losing, he just gets up and keeps pressuring. He throws a lot of kicks, a lot of naked kicks. Doesn't set up a lot, but he does have a ton of volume. Boxing leaves a lot to be desired, and wrestling to me is horrendous. He's a guard puller. Okay, almost every fight I see, he pulls guard, and it's a little bit, not physical, right? Not physical. It's a little bit noodly, and as soon as he engages with someone, he must feel their strength, and he just chooses not to waste his energy to wrestle. He just says, "I'll rather pull guard," and I can't blame him. The guy has a ton of submission. His guard is absolutely lethal, and he's rear naked chokes. He has darces, triangles. Kind of reminds me of someone else we're going to be talking in the main event right after this. A lot of similarities these two fighters, which is quite interesting in the co-main and the main event. On the other hand, you've got people who, almost 40 fights, and the only person to ever submit him was AJ McKee, who we'll also be talking about next. And it was a guillotine choke. He didn't even tap. He went out. He was badly hurt by a head kick. And, yeah, it's just... I do favour people here, but the line is a bit unplayable. $1.30 against Kleber, who, he has a lot of disadvantages, and a lot of fighters are better than him on paper, yet he finishes them. All right, if anyone's going to submit people fair and square, from guard or something, it's going to be Kleber, and I don't have the confidence to play him at this juice line. Maybe play the under. Although Kleber's never been finished. Despite being very hittable and being dropped, even Arthur Savinsky in KSW, who's a knockout artist, he beat him by decision. That's his other loss, and he hasn't been finished. Right, he has been submitted back in 2009. So yeah, but if anyone's going to finish him, it's going to be Pitbull. Pitbull has a very good guillotine. He's good wrestling, great counter striker. If Kleber's going to come in throwing naked body kicks and leg kicks, he's going to get cracked over and over again. So props haven't opened up. We do have odds. We've had odds on Bet365 for a while now, so I'm inclined to believe surely they will open up props since they've opened up normal odds this early in the month, in the week. So yeah, I'm looking at some unders, or if I'm going to play Kleber, we'll sprinkle it, maybe decision, pardon me, submission. But yeah, at the moment, I favour Patricky, and it's just too wide for me to play anything. And main event leading AJ McKee Jr. versus Roberto de Souza. De Souza is an absolute pleasure to tape, especially if you're taping him for the first time. A lot of similarities to Kleber. I think a lot more submissions. A lot more all finishes. Never been out of round 2. He has been knocked out once. It's a bit of a red flag. I'll talk about that fight soon. But the main difference between him and Kleber is Roberto seems very physical, right? Very physical. Also a great. He's got some knockout power. He's got one punch KOs. He knocked out 2 people in a row at one point at RIZIN. Hiroto from UFC. When he gets on top and he can't get the sub, his ground and pound is solid. He knocked out Yasuke Yachi. So I'm not too sure. He kind of reminds me of. I can't think exactly who he reminds me of, but he's not. He can pull guard, but he's not a strict guard puller like Kleber. Like he grabs onto you, and his takedowns are a bit sloppy sometimes. But once he gets a hold of you, he drags you down. Right. So 3 fights ago, he beat Tafuk Musayev, who's 19-3 at the time. He beat him in just over a minute. He's currently in Bellator and knocked out Sydney Outlaw. Right, solid fighter, very good fighter. Got good hips, got good wrestling. And he grabbed onto him and he was just dragging him down. And Tafuk, has strong hips and he was trying to fight it. And he just couldn't. He just got dragged down to the ground, got his back taken. And from losing the back position, after falling off, Souza just fell off and locked the triangle armbar. And the guy's very slick. He loves his triangles. He doesn't mind losing back control to lock the triangle in, and also that armbar combination. Yeah, just an animal, right? He doesn't mind throwing hard as well. He's got some looping hard punches. A little bit sloppy, but he does have power on it. He just wants to close the distance and grab you or crack you, and then as he stuns you, just grab onto you and drag you down to the ground. Very impressed, especially as a jits guy myself. I'm very impressed what I saw from Souza on tape. As for his opponent, AJ McKee, look, I always thought AJ McKee had some red flags about him. I was always looking to fade him. I put a little tiny amount on Spike Carlisle against him just because of those red flags, and you never know what Spike's going to pull out of his backside. He's always live for a finish. And Spike, had a lot of top time in round 1, ended up on top. Hit his back in round 3 when he was gassed. Pitbull had him in some deep guillotines. And I was surprised by AJ McKee's composure to survive that. And you know what, the Spike Carlisle fight, even though I faded him, I was surprised by that too. He stayed composed. It's just he just gave up some positions, and he didn't mind the crazy brawl, which he can't really give up those positions against Souza. He can't end up on bottom. We've seen Souza submit to Tafuk Musayev off his back. Like, the guy is dangerous, man. And luckily he beat someone like him, because the rest of the opponents don't really have, they're not really the highest level of quality. I mean, Johnny Case is a bit underrated. He's 27-7, UFC veteran. He's the one that actually beat him in round 1 in the first minute. Took Johnny Case down. Johnny Case got up, cracked him a few times on the feet, and then he had an uppercut. He was going for a takedown, an unset up takedown, and tapped to strikes. Right, which I was straight away. I was like, that's a big red flag. Upon replay, the glove kind of scraped his eyelid, which you've seen before. Kind of feels like an eye poke. It scratches your eye. We've seen it with Dan Kelly and Tom Breeze. Scraped his eye and he just turned around and had enough. It's a very painful maneuver, so I gave him the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, tapping to strikes, it's a bit, how you going. But other than that, it's his only blemish. And for me, this is another dog or pass. I see money coming in on AJ McKee, and I guess I get it. He's never been finished, never been submitted. He's fought Patricio People for 5 rounds. Got cracked a bit there, and he showed a good chin. Spike Carlisle cracked him. So I guess I see it, but it's just, from what I've seen from Souza, I can't fade a guy this dangerous at minus 200 odds now on AJ McKee. Plus, I hate to sound like a broken record, going back into the RIZIN rule set. Souza's the one that's comfortable with the ring, the venue, the crowds, the soccer kicks, etc., etc. So yeah, it's another dogger pass for me. I do have to retape this one again. I did tape it while I was going on holiday in the car. I do have to retape it. What I will retape is Souza's couple of round 2 appearances. So the Yachi and whoever else, Kitaka fights, just to see how his cardio is in round 2. But he's still got finishes in rounds 2. So I don't think he's a round 1 merchant, like I've heard some people say. I'll retape those fights, and I was just retaping the Spike Carlisle fight and the Pitbull fight of AJ and the Derek Campos fight, where he just gave up some bad positions, ended up on his back, and he kind of looked to be winded. I also think AJ is improving. All right, 27, moved up to lightweight. I think lightweight is a better weight class for him, which is why I'm not rushing to fading him with Souza. But yeah, if I was going to play Souza, which there's a high chance I still might, it's just going to be by finish, sprinkle by finish. I think both guys are live for a finish. I think the under would be a good play here as well. AJ has a lot of KOs, head kicks, he's fast, he's dynamic, he's got great subs as well. Can he submit Souza? Why not? He's a powerful guy. So yeah, at the moment, dogger pass for me as well. Great fight. I'm excited about this fight. I'm excited about this whole card personally. So yeah, let's go through the whole card quickly and just give it a little rundown. So Koji Takeda, Gazi, Rabadanov. I favor Rabadanov, but now honestly, the way the odds are going, you almost make me want to hit Takeda. I can see a close decision. So yeah, just a clear pass at the moment. Koji Hiraguchi, Hero, pass. Juan Archuleta, Soicho Kim. It's a dogger pass for me for Kim. If more money comes in on Archuleta, I'll play Kim. It kind of seems accurate with Kim's defensive issues and how he's going to plod forward, whereas Archuleta is going to look to stay more safe. Not saying Kim can't crack him still. Yeah, he's just... I see it as a very volatile fight, and I can't really pull the trigger. Pitbull, Kleber, I think Pitbull most likely KOs him with the defense that Kleber has shown. If you are going to play Kleber, sprinkle him by sub. Otherwise, play the under potentially, probably juiced. And main event, AJ McKeague, Souza. Souza by sub would be my sprinkle, or just the under here. I just think minus 200 is a bit steep for AJ. I still have trouble trusting him from what I've seen with his fight style. So that's it. No official bets, unfortunately. What can you do? I mean, first fight of the year for me, and I've just gone through my overview, and I said I wasn't going to be sloppy, so I'm not going to force anything here. Nothing really jumped out at me to tell me yes, play it. So it is what it is. We'll wait for some props. Maybe I'll play it. Other than that, Cage Warriors coming up on the same day, and like I said, that's my best promotion according to the statistics. So we'll focus on that. Mr. ND here, what do we got? First comment. Where's young Scrap Kappa? Scrap Kappa's on holiday, mate. I didn't want to bother him. I think our first podcast is going to be the first UFC next year, so we will do that. Other than that, thanks to everyone for listening. Just a reminder, this is on Spotify as well as YouTube. Give it a like and subscribe, and I will see you in a few days for the Cage Warriors. Thank you.